Pop quiz. If the truck stopped running and the stores couldn't get resupplied, how long would the food in your house last? Come on back, we're going to talk about it. Welcome back to Muskrat Gulch. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate your company. And if you'd hit that like and subscribe button, we'd really appreciate that too. So the question there is, how long will the food in your house last? People generally think they have more food than they actually do. How long will your food last? It takes 1,094 meals to feed one person for 1 year. That's 3 meals a day. And in a situation where there'd be a stoppage of vehicles, like a stoppage of trucks or trains to restock the stores, you have to assume that other things are stopped as well, which means you're going to be working harder, which means you're going to be eating more, not less. So you can't say in a situation like that, I'll just eat less. You're going to need more calories. Now, there are 3 types of pantries that you can have. There is a working pantry, there's a long-term pantry, and there's a doomsday pantry. And we'll go over all 3 of them. The point that I want to make to you is this. Things can happen here. Here's a picture of Nova Scotia during White Wan a few years ago. Here's a picture of the Truro area during what we call in Truro Wet Wan. That was the ice and snow had all melted and broken up at the same time, and we get inundated. And then there is Eastern Newfoundland a year ago. So there's all kinds of reasons why you should stock up. And we're going to go downstairs, we're going to look at our pantry, and I'll explain what kind of a pantry we have. So come on downstairs with me. So this room is the smallest of our 2 pantries. Mostly it's made up of pickles and jams and jellies. There's some meat and vegetables back there, but mostly it's jams and jellies in here. Now, we have a freezer. The freezer's always full, but the freezer is not part of our long-term storage plan. A freezer is probably the least reliable method of long-term storage. If you lose your power for any reason, you lose your freezer, which means you lose your contents. So the food that's in the freezer is our regular food that we eat every day. It's not part of the long-term storage plan. Here's our main pantry. This is a mixture of both homemade and bought and stuff. We are not above buying canned goods at all. That's part of our strategy. Over on this side is our can storage rack. Keeping it in these racks makes life easier for us to know what we have, what we don't have, what we use, and what we don't use. And we do use our pantry. This is not just storage. I'll explain all that. So the cans go in the top, they come out the bottom, and that's the way that works. All right, so you have seen our 2 pantries. I guess the next question is, what is a prepper and what does prepping mean? If you watch any amount of TV at all, or movies, you'd probably come to the conclusion that preppers are crazy people who live up on a mountain or they live back in the woods in a cabin and they're getting ready for doomsday or the zombie apocalypse. And that really couldn't be further from the truth. That's why I do not like the word prepper or prepping. A couple of years ago, we did a canning seminar, and afterwards, a gentleman came up to me and he said, I would really like to start stocking up on food and canning my own stuff, but I don't want people to think I'm crazy. And that's totally unfair. You can look at it this way, and I think this is probably the best way to look at what we have here. You have house insurance, you have car insurance, you have life insurance. You never want to use those things. You pay your car insurance every month and pray to God you don't have a car accident. You pay your house insurance and hope nothing happens to your house. But the insurance is there if it does. And that's what this is. You have house insurance, car insurance, life insurance. Why wouldn't you have food insurance? Simple as that. Now, I said to you that there are three kinds of pantries. There's the doomsday pantry, there's the long-term pantry, and the working pantry. Let's start at the last one first. The doomsday pantry, even the name. This is the kind of pantry that a person would build if they think there's going to be a complete and total grid down situation, a total collapse of the economy and government. So they'll have 10 or 20 years worth of food and other supplies stored up. They will have many, many things stored up that they can use as barter, because barter would become the money of choice at that time. Then there's the long-term storage. Long-term means you put 3 or 5 or 6 years worth of food and other supplies together, and you don't touch it. That is there for the day you need it. And then there's the working pantry. And a working pantry is one where you build up your 1 year supply or 2 year supply of food, and then you begin to use it. This is what we have. A good example is, here's a can of mushrooms. We built our supply. That can of soup's going to fall out. We built our supply, and then we start to use it. So we are free to use this can of mushrooms anytime we want. But we know that we need to replace it. Teresa wants to do a spreadsheet. I'm happy with a piece of paper on a clipboard. We know what we have here. Everything that's in here is kept track of. So if we take that can of mushrooms to use tonight, then it's got to be marked down. It's got to mark down that we took it. So we no longer have 14 cans of mushrooms. We have 13. That means when we go to the grocery store, we have to pick up an extra can for the storage shelf to bring us back up to what we had. That's how this works. We know what we have at any given time, and we stick to it. Now, we can always build it up higher, but we can't let it go low. So when this all started, I'm pretty sure that Teresa thought I was crazy. She probably still does. She probably still has her doubts. But she played along. Bless her heart, she played along. I was allowed to spend $10 a week when we started this. And you think, how can you build a pantry on $10 a week? Well, this is Italpasta. Italpasta. I can't even say it. 2 for $1 dollar store. That can of mushrooms came from the dollar store and it was 82 cents. So in theory, you can get 10 of these for your $10 at the dollar store. So building our supply was not difficult. Now, when it came time, and we came to that moment probably a year into it, where we wanted to start canning our own stuff. And at the first year, everything we canned, we bought. So we bought ourselves a water bath canner and bought the jars, and we started canning things like pickles, and you saw the other room, the jams and stuff. That's how we started. Then we progressed to our own garden, and then to a pressure canner. Now, a pressure canner allows us to can some soups. It allows us to can roast beef. and vegetables. God, I hate carrots. Anyway, this year we're growing, I think it's total of 26 different vegetables, and we're going to can the vast majority of it. And that's how this was built. This was built to start with on $10 a week. Then it progressed, and you never have to progress beyond $10 a week. Never. Remember, this is very, very important. People think that they have more food than they do. It takes 1,094 meals to feed one person for 1 year. 1,094. That's a lot of food. Now, a couple of Christmases ago, Teresa's daughter came for a visit. And she came down here and looked at this stuff. And she said, "What in the hell are you doing? All this food? You don't need all this food. And canned milk? You don't even like canned milk. You got 50 cans of it." She didn't get the point. And then COVID hit. And one night she called and said, "I get it." She had gone out to get toilet paper, of all things, and there wasn't any. And then she noticed other things on store shelves gone. And if you look around at Walmart, Sobeys, Superstore, you will see an awful lot of little signs that say out of stock, temporarily out of stock. And they're getting to be more and more and more. And funny enough, last week, we were looking for something in the fruit aisle at the grocery store and noticed one section was completely empty. And they had signs there that said, "If you want pineapple, come to the produce section and you can get fresh cut pineapple." Now, the other day before yesterday, we were actually looking for a can of pineapple to make an upside down cake. And there wasn't any pineapple to be had. The only pineapple you get was fresh pineapple, no canned pineapple. There is going to be more and more of that as time goes by. So what happens if stores cannot restock? Now I'm going to show you a picture here. A year ago in Newfoundland, they got a monster storm. This is a place that expects storms, but they got one that was completely unexpected, and it dumped on them. By day 2, people were having to share their food with friends and neighbors. By day 3 or 4, the Army had sent 2 or 3 helicopters, a C-130, and something like 400 soldiers down to help. On day 5, Sobeys in St. John's opened up their store. They reopened. Now, there's drone footage of what the parking lot looked like. I took, 8 or 10 pictures from that drone footage and stitched them together to make one picture. This is a picture of what the parking lot looked like when they opened. Now, this doesn't even tell the whole story because that lineup stretched out onto the street. Now, the people at the back of the lineup, or the people still at home because they haven't been shoveled out yet, how much food do you think was left in that store for them? Now, everybody was calm and happy because they knew that food was still going to get through, that Sobeys wasn't going to run out of food. They may have to close up early, they may be closed tomorrow, but they're going to get more food. The ferries and the trucks are still coming. So, there was no panic. What if it was a case where we're not so sure anymore? I've been telling Teresa for years that when an event like that happens, people are not going to be nice. People will change when they think food necessities become scarce. People will become mean. Now, On March 13th of last year, I had an appointment in Halifax. Now, that's the day that things really started to change as far as COVID went. That's the day that people started to get worried. After my appointment in Halifax, we stopped at Dartmouth Crossing we went to Walmart, Costco, and Home Depot. And as we were coming out of one of the stores, Teresa grabbed me by the arm and said, "You were right about everything. People aren't nice in a situation like that. Even on the East Coast of Canada, where we pride ourselves on being nice, things change." The average Canadian has 3 days worth of food in their house at any given time. On the East Coast of Canada, that drops to 2 days. Now, hunters and fishermen are probably going to have a little bit more than that. But on average, on the East Coast of Canada, the average Canadian has 2 days worth of food in their store or in their house at any given time. That means we are 6 meals away from having a real problem. You do not want to leave it to the government to help. Hurricane Katrina, the Houston floods, and the wildfires at Fort McMurray proved that neither the American nor the Canadian government, the federal government, can be there to help in time. It's up to you. And there have been enough disasters on the East Coast of Canada to warrant stocking up. So, let's think about it. It's not hard, doesn't have to be expensive, and it's a lot of fun doing it too. So, you're not crazy, you're planning ahead. It's forward thinking, okay? Forward thinking. Food insurance. So, get after it. Do it. Build your own pantry. Thank you very, very much for joining us at Muskrat Gulch. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you'll do it. And I hope you'll come back next time for another episode. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and share it with your friends. Till next time, thank you. God bless.